Hey trainers, Alakaham here with some more Pokemon video magic. If you go on to enjoy the content from today's video, I would ask if you would please give a like to the video. That would really be great. And without any further ado, we are going to jump right into the content here. And as you can see on the screen, today I am featuring that big ol' water spider that has just been introduced to Pokemon Go. That's right, today we are talking about Araquinid, and it took me forever to start saying this thing's name correctly. So the logic behind the team here is that we have Alolan Marowak with Fire Spin on the lead to try and deal with grass types, which could be problematic to Pokemon in the back. Grass only does neutral damage to Araquinid, but because of that bug typing, which resists grass. But it would absolutely destroy Swampert, and it can do neutral damage to a problematic degree at times against Araquinid. So Marowak up front to deal with that, and then two water types in the back. So in this first battle, we hit a very bad lead up against an Azumarill. So I safe swapped into my Swampert, which you will notice here is a shiny Swampert. Very happy with it, very proud of it. And I am running Sludge Wave on my Great League Swampert. So that meant that we were going to be able to do quite a bit of damage with that poison type move, even though it's non-stab against the Azumarill. My opponent countered with their own Swampert, and I brought in my Araquinid. Araquinid, as you are going to notice in this video, is super tanky. It can take a lot of punishment before it finally goes down. Now I know a lot of people are either trying it out or running counters to it right now, but I was able to record this video just as we got started in the most recent rotation of the Great League for this final week of Season 11 in Go Battle League. So anyway, my opponent kind of countered there with an Alolan Muck, and I figured that my AWAC was not going to get much use against this particular team anyway. Ooh, by the way, you love to see that. My opponent threw the Earthquake, which is resisted by the Araquinid there, so always fun to get an Earthquake on the Araquinid, because it really does very, very little. So you can see how much punishment this thing was was taken in there. Araquinid is bulky, bulky, bulky. But to finish what I was saying before, I figured the AWAC wasn't going to get much play against that team, which is fine. So I just kind of sacked it and used it to chip as much damage as possible with Bone Clubs, and then closed out the game with the Araquinid. Alright, so I had two better responses to the Nidoqueen here in Game 2. So my safe swap is always going to be the soft counter to whatever is on the lead. The Araquinid can do fine against Nidoqueen there, but really Swampert is what we would ideally like lined up with it. My opponent just got in the Poison Fang to lower the defense of the Araquinid, which makes a lot of sense because Araquinid, as I said, can really absorb a lot of damage. And then they swapped into an Azumarill. And Azumarill is absolutely not what you want to see if you're running Araquinid, because all of the moves are going to be resisted. But, as y'all saw in the last battle, I am running a Swampert with Sludge Wave, so there is a lot of potential there. This is going to get really tricky here. My opponent brings in a Medicham, and I don't have a hard answer to the Medicham. All of my Pokemon can do okay there, but AWAC is my best response, and because of the way that the switch timers are lined up, I have had real difficulties getting any of the alignment the way that I wanted it to go. So I just let the charge move go through, and I was just sort of crossing my fingers and hoping that AWAC would be able to close this game if I gave it shields, because Shadow Bone will at least do neutral, if not super effective damage against everything on this team. So we did super effective damage to the Medicham, And now we are going to go for neutral damage against Azu. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough to KO. It's going to be close. Okay, yeah. So we barely KO, and then my opponent brings in the Nidoqueen. We have to be really careful not to get hit with an Earth Power. Unfortunately, I think if I would have been paying closer attention, I would have noticed that that was just a Poison Fang and wouldn't have had to use the shield there. Really trying to get to that Bone Club and or Fire Spin down, but they are going to get to the Poison Fang first. Unfortunately for my opponent, Poison Fang is not enough to KO the Marowak. They were going to have to go for the Earth Power, so that worked out nicely for me there. This is hot, fogged up my glasses. Okay, coming into game 3. And oh, this is this game. So my opponent was obviously just joshing and having some fun here. They were running a team filled with Little Cup players. And believe it or not, this Ducklet is going to be kind of problematic for a lot of my team, even though I grossly outbulk it with all of my team members. So everything that this opponent is running is just 500 CP, but they can do a decent amount of damage with the really hard-hitting potential move of Brave Bird on the Ducklet. That Psychic type, the Execute, did not want anything to do with the bug typing on Araquinid. So anyway, this was kind of just a gimme, but it was sort of fun to see those Pokemon show up, and I did have to use a shield at least once because Brave Bird would have been super effective against my Araquinid. But also, you know, that battle was a part of the set, and it did a good job of showing Araquinid as well, because Araquinid more or less took the whole team there. Okay, hopping into the next match. Really great timing by my opponent. After I safe swapped into Swampert, my opponent waited until I built up enough energy for a Hydro Cannon, and then they made a swap. And I did hold on to my energy, but I think going for Hydro Cannons was going to be more efficient than throwing the Sludge Wave here anyway. I was thinking that was just a Thunder Punch, but clearly I miscounted because that was a Shadow Ball. And here again, they are barely able to get to a move before I can farm down. They bring the Whiscash back, and I'm debating whether I should switch or whether I should just let the AWAC go down and try and commit to the Araquinid closer. My opponent brings in a Machamp, which is not a particularly great response to Araquinid, so not too bad here. And again, AWAC did not have a lot of play against this team, so actually the Alolan Marowak didn't work out all that well in this particular set. There were only a few specific times when it actually was helpful, so maybe I should reconsider that lead player in the future. A flying type perhaps could be helpful there as well, or something to counter flying, like a rock type, maybe a Bastiodon. Anyway, lots of blind speculation here. I figured Araquinid was my win con, so I went ahead and sacked the AWAC, but unfortunately my opponent still has a shield, and I was trying to get to that Bubble Beam, but they got to their Mud Bomb first, and I'm very worried right now that because this Whiscash has so much energy that it's going to get to a Blizzard before I can farm down, so I'm just bug biting, trying to farm down. And if this is a Mud Bomb, I think we barely survive, but no, it is the Blizzard, so even ineffective and debuffed, Blizzard hits so hard and we just had a little bit of health. But I'll bet that we just barely got KO'd by that, because again, Araquinid can tank a lot of damage. I cannot stress enough how ridiculously bulky that Pokemon is. Alright, coming into the next match, we see a counter Araquinid, which is very interesting here. And my best response to Araquinid is actually Araquinid. So I figure I would go ahead and throw the Shadow Bone, and surprisingly, got a shield there. I'm going to let this move through, yeah, which I was counting on being a Bubble Beam, and then swapping into Swampert. And I know that the Hydro Cannons are not going to do all that much, so I go for Sludge Wave here. And that doesn't do all that much either. My opponent brings in another Hypno, and I am really getting sick of seeing Hypnos against this Swampert. So, like before, I'm going to go ahead and go for the double Hydro Cannon and see what we can get away with. And they just barely stay alive with 1 HP and a dream, as Ionic likes to say. So I come in with AWAC, try and get a little bit of energy from a farm there, and the opponent is debating what they're going to bring in, and it is the Araquinid. I know that I can survive any one move at this range, and I do not want to get debuffed, so I was ready to switch out anyway, but my opponent immediately swapped into a Swampert. So Araquinid is actually a fairly good response to Swampert. I knew that they had enough energy for a potential Sludge Wave, so I didn't want to risk it until I was able to debuff the opponent. But they were running Earthquake, which would not have done all that much against the Araquinid anyway, as y'all saw earlier in the video. So all in all, that set worked out pretty well. I think Araquinid is pretty cool. It's a pretty viable Pokemon. It's probably going to be used quite a bit right now, but hey, that's because it's new and people think it's fun. Also, because y'all went through the 500 CP battle thing in the Great League, I thought I would maybe do a bonus battle just for funsies in the Ultra League as a little fun end here. And what is special about this particular team is that it's a triple shiny team, which has nothing to do with anything in the Battle League. I just think it's cool. So I am running a shadow, or not a shadow, a shiny Giratina up front there, and in the back I have my lucky shiny Kanto Muck, and also my shiny purple beetle, the Heracross. And I know how y'all love Heracross, because that was one of the most popular videos I've ever done, is the Heracross video. So the pink bug does pretty well in the current Ultra League meta. Triple shiny team here, very fun. We are getting a little bit of Go Battle lag. I definitely wanted to shield up there in case that was going to be a blast burn, but it was not, so that worked out fine. And I'm not sure what's going on with the shielding situation here, but whatever the case may be, we were able to get through that attack. Maybe I didn't shield or it didn't register. Regardless, I knew that I did not have much to fear from that Trevenant, so Kanto Muck coming in here and doing lots of damage with Dark Pulse and Poison Jab against the Trevenant. I come in just to basically sack the Giratina because I knew that I could, and then I'm going to come in and farm down with the Purple Beetle because even though its attacks are going to be resisted, I just thought it would be fun to get it into the video. My opponent had to go for a Shadow Ball if they wanted to do any decent damage to my Heracross there, and they were not able to get to it before I farmed down. So I was able to do a 2-shield flex, I think, even though I tried to shield a thing and it didn't show up at one point there. But in any case, I hope that you had fun watching the video. I think Araquinid is going to be a lot of fun to run in the Great League, and I do love the Ultra League, as many of you all already know, so I'll probably have some videos from the Open Ultra League coming up for you soon. And before we know it, we're going to be in Season 12 of Go Battle League, so that's exciting too. I hope that you'll come back for more content in the future. Until next time, trainers.